In context, there were a lot of protests against the war in Vietnam. It was a very activist time in the country, not only against the Vietnam War, but it was also, there were a lot of other things happening. A lot of black-white confrontation, environmental movement, beginning of the women's movement. I mean, it was a very, very activist time in our country, so in that context, I remember that day because I can remember what I was wearing. I remember particularly the incidents on the field. Governor Laxalt was governor of our state. It was a tradition, a salute, if you will, to the governor of the state by the ROTC. I can remember being up at the stadium and the ceremony was interrupted by a protest. Earlier there had been an incident on the campus right very near Jot Travis Student Union where the governor's car had been stopped. Most of the activity, however, occurred up at the stadium. I remember as student body president going out on the field that day to try to talk to the students to see if we could have the ceremony continue. And then I think soon after that, I can't remember the exact time frame, but soon after that there was a firebombing on the UNR campus. The headline in the largest newspaper in the state, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I can still see it. It was Reign of Terror at UNR. And since I went to junior high and high school in Las Vegas, my parents lived in Las Vegas, I can remember my mother calling me, telling me I had to come home. And I said, no, Mom, I'm not coming home. That's not exactly what's happening. It was, of course, a serious situation, but it made it sound like in Las Vegas much worse than it actually was. There weren't any injuries. It was mainly a disruption, and it was for the most part fairly peaceful. The picture of Kent State is forever, I mean, it's a very recognizable photo, I would say, for anyone who was living or 15 years of age or older, I would think at that time would remember those incidents. I mean, it was really big on the news, and of course it was a very serious, very, very serious situation, and that picture will be forever in your memory. And I think that it was obviously very disturbing to have that happen. What followed the Governor's Day episode, there was an English professor on campus by the name of Paul Adamian. He was fired. There were some subsequent hearings in that regard. There's a picture in the yearbook. If not a picture in the yearbook, there was certainly a picture in the newspaper of when the governor's car was stopped. And I think Dr. Adamian was in that photo. There were differing accounts as to whether he was actually part of the protest or if he was actually trying to assist a student who had laid down in front of the car. There was obviously some student support for Dr. Adamian because a lot of students thought he was a good professor and were even supportive of his account of what happened that particular day. I think the biggest effect would be, I can't remember if we made national news. I don't recall. It certainly was not of the poignancy of what happened at Kent State. I mean, that was national and international news. I can't remember if ours was or not. In the scheme of things, it was not as major an event. It was, however, an event in our state.